thank you for joining us for our President's Sharing session. And special shout out to our President-elect for joining us. One thing I do want to ask before we get started is if you could, because I know my people, but I might not know some of the other people, so I want to make sure that we all know who's here. If you could put your name and your chapter, that would be great, and under the participant's name, just so we can kind of learn and know where everyone's from. That's always helpful. So just take a moment to do that. Oh, I still see more people popping in. That's a good sign. If you're just joining us so far, I've asked if you could put your name and the chapter you are affiliated with. And since we are 2 minutes over, I want to make sure we can stay on time. Since our PEs are joining us, I want to kick this off to see if you all have any takeaways from your experience at conference. We still would love to get feedback. So if anyone that is new to these sharing sessions from the President-elect side, if you would like to voice your feedback and share any conference takeaways, I'd love to hear them. No? It was a great conference. Everybody learned everything they needed to know. You're ready for your terms. Nothing to question.
I'll go. Go ahead.
Thanks, Roxanne.
I think my big takeaway was we had just done our strategic planning before I came. And when we went back, I just kind of said, I think we need to scale back a little bit. I think we're trying to do too much for a smaller chapter, and kind of re-looked at the strategic plan from some of the takeaways that I took from everyone.
Nice. Did anyone kind of have that revelation as well? Sort of, I can imagine being, your terms upcoming, you have a lot that you want to get done, but then once you really start to take a look at it, you're like, oh, I may need to take a step back and kind of hone in on that and focus on those 1 to 2 things that you can make get corrected or get done in your term. Did anyone else have that type of revelation? I think I saw a thumbs up in my gallery somewhere, but well, does anyone else have anything else to share in terms of takeaways from conference? I see, Mark, I wasn't sure if you had your hand up. I saw. No, okay. Well, it looks like you're in the car. Keep your hands on the wheel. Well, all right. Well, if there's nothing to share at this moment, that's okay. Sometimes I know I like to process things and I take a moment to process. So if something comes up, please feel free to email me or Kelly or Crystal or Emily, and we'll be happy to elaborate, and we can always make a note and share our next session. Also, I want to ask, does anyone have anything fun or creative for International Community Associations Managers Day this year? Anything that your chapters are doing? Any social media campaigns that you all may be trying to roll out just to spread awareness or anything?
Jason, I see you came off mute.
Yeah, sorry. I ran from the last meeting, so I'm like brain slow. Working on redesigning our website, so that's taking all my mental power. But we do have a little bit of a minor campaign going out locally, and we're doing a happy hour that day here in Miami, which is CAM appreciation centric. So we're hoping to get kind of some stuff rolling on that side of it.
That sounds very nice, very cool. Make sure you take lots of pictures, send to Emily so that we can see. I would love to see how that goes.
Should be fun. It's at a place called Ball and Chain, if anybody's ever heard of it in Miami. So
very interesting name.
I'm going to put in the chat the link that we shared this in the weekly email, but it's just some ideas for chapters on International Community Association Day, International Community Association Manager Day. And it also has an email address where you can send pictures, because we do want to share what the chapters are doing as well. So I'll put that document in the chat or the link to that.
Perfect. Because who knows? Maybe if you're not doing anything this year specific, that's the purpose of us being all able to get together. We can share, and who knows, you might find your next campaign for next year or for years to come just from sharing. So please continue to share with us. Any other creative ventures going out for ICAM Day?
I didn't even know such a thing existed, so this is totally new for me.
I
And
think
I'm
this
definitely
is-
looking forward to that link.
I think this is like the third year. I think this is maybe the third or fourth year that we've had International Community Association Manager Day. And it was an effort by our Managers Council and our marketing team to get that going. So we're really excited about it. We saw a lot of momentum the first year, and then it's just kind of built from there. So there's also share graphics on there that you can use as business partners, managers, or homeowner leaders, where you can recognize, your favorite managers and all of that. So be sure to check that out.
This is fantastic. Thank you so much. I love this link. So much stuff in here.
Absolutely.
All right, good deal. So we didn't have a lot of questions. I did get two so far. Linda, I think you're on. Yeah, you are. If you want to elaborate, but she asked specifically in terms of homeowners, how are you all getting them more involved at the chapter level? Whether it be for legislative days or just focusing on their overall involvement?
One of the things that we have talked about is encouraging the managers to bring a board member. So at least we get board member involvement at that level. We haven't, we've kind of kicked around the idea of allowing a manager to bring a board member and have a reduced charge, say for a lunch program, something like that. We haven't implemented that yet, but that's one of the ideas we're talking about. And we're especially have a difficult time even finding a homeowner representative to serve on our board. That's been a pretty big challenge, actually. And we've ended up with having homeowners who are like retired managers. So they have sort of that connection, but that's something we're looking at least trying for that, if they live in a community association.
So Linda, who asked this question, I see your hand, Sally, is actually a homeowner leader too, I believe, right, Linda? You're a homeowner leader,
Yes,
president
yeah.
of the chapter. So
Huh.
she might be someone that you could, brainstorm with about how she got involved too.
I got involved because our association lawyer recommended that I run for the board, and I did, and I won. There were 4 people on the list, and now since then we haven't needed a homeowner, but this next year we need 2. So I'm just finding, we're calling this the year of the homeowner, and we're focusing in on homeowners as part of the partnership between business partners and managers, so that it's a 3-legged stool kind of. Excuse me. So we do blanket asks, in our newsletter, online, on our web, on LinkedIn, but we don't get a lot of participation. This year, I suggested that we start a regional educational training session thing. And I mentioned it as strategic plan, and all of a sudden it happened. Staff took it and ran with it. I had no idea they were doing it, so I was fully surprised. We started out with 5 this year. I think we've added another one, and they're very well attended. At one, we had 26 people. At one, we had 12, but that was in a rural area. So they're very successful, and we're going to get membership from it because we've opened it to anybody in that area that's a homeowner, and it's called the board member training. And they walk away with their heads full of new ideas. So we're hoping that works, but to get them to volunteer for committees, and it just doesn't happen. And I remember when I joined the board, I didn't know how to do that. as a homeowner. I didn't know how to get involved on committees and all that. So we've gotten better at advertising that, but I know there's other ideas out there that you guys have that can help. Because you're all so good.
Here in Georgia, this is Mie Yi. I'm the president-elect for next year, but I just want to mention here in Georgia, we have the homeowner leader virtual education classes that are brought forward by our education committee. And so we do have various courses available online, and we do it for a very, very low cost to future members. Some of the classes that we have that we did and we have coming up are like virtual mock board meetings, homeowner leadership development workshops, mastering your annual meeting, mental health, managing stress and difficult people. So these are some of the topics that we've incorporated in for this year in the Homeowner Leaders Series education classes we're doing.
Oh, thank you for that. Stress and difficult people, do we have that?
That should be on a regular course.
Yeah.
Repeating
That should be-
itself.
That should be on a loop.
Yeah.
We actually do. We started, the other homeowner board members suggested that we start board member trainings. So we've done that, and they're free to homeowners, and it's all online. So it doesn't really cost us anything except the time to put together the presentation. So maybe we're doing better than I thought we were. I don't know. I just want to see a lineup at the door of people that want to participate on a committee or write an article or be involved in legislation. And we're not getting that.
Yeah, I think the hard piece is translating those educational things into actually then stepping up and being part of, and maybe what we need to do is think up some good committee that would be a stepping stone to kind of pull them in, some kind of a homeowner member. You know, if we could get something maybe at that level to kind of get them invested. Because our chapter we created a program we call HOA Academy. And it's a 4-session training that we do. One night is on finances and budgeting. We have one on insurance, one on general legal issues. And that's actually gotten really good participation. I think, listening to your ideas, I think we need to figure out how to kind of leverage that to then maybe pull some people into wanting to get more involved in other things that we're doing. So that's a good thought.
So what was the last one? Because I'm taking some notes. I like this idea.
What was the last topic
So-
that was shared?
You had stated finance and budgeting, insurance, general legal, and what was the last topic?
Oh, for our HOA Academy, let's see, it's budget, finances, insurance, maintenance and repair,
Maintenance
and
repair.
contracting.
I like this idea too.
Another good topic is meetings. Meetings,
Meetings,
budgets,
yeah.
finance reserves.
In New York, we're finding that a lot of people are really interested in information on sewer treatment plants and like how to deal with the whole managing and everything like that. And we're very lucky that we have some great vendors to help out with presentations to kind of educate everyone. But I like making it like a training session. I think that's a good idea.
Sally,
I-
I know your hand's been up for a moment. If you
I was
want to
gonna say,
elaborate. Yeah.
What I wanted to jump in on is for those of you who have mandatory reserve fund studies, don't forget to use the resources that gives you, and I'll tell you how. So the engineers or the reserve fund providers who provide reserve fund studies work very, very close with the I'm going to say directors, you guys call it the volunteer leaders, is that the right term? And so we tend to know who amongst them is likely to be a good candidate to participate on a committee or a board. So if you have those people involved as business partners or professionals, then you might want to ask them who they think would be good people to participate. Because when we're out there dealing directly with all of these leaders, right, you can kind of pull out the ones who seem like they would be likely to have the aptitude. So that's where typically I've gone hunting for those folks to get them involved with the committees and the board.
That's a great idea. Thank you, Sally.
No problem.
So I think that I heard before someone had mentioned that they encourage their managers to bring board members. You know, I represent the Long Island chapter, so I don't know if it's the whole New York competitive nature of, you know, the industry, but in our case, they kind of, the property, they do bring a board member that another property manager can like take that relationship. So how are you guys going around that to make it more neutral?
Why not? Why
Or
not
can we
make it that-
brainstorm some ideas?
Yeah, why not make it that anybody can bring, like if I'm pushing our business partners or professionals, I'm gonna encourage them to bring a manager and or a director, right? Just bring a client, for goodness sake, when you come to an event. I'm not sure the
Well, that's
manager,
what I'm,
yeah, will fund the
That-
volunteer leaders.
yeah, that's what I'm saying, like, yeah, the property managers, they tend to hold their clients dear to themselves. Because obviously they don't want another property manager to take that, you know, account or whatnot. And it's, you know, it's New York, so it kind of is what it is, and I'm being very honest because it is an issue, and if there's, you know, any suggestions out there, I'd like to bring it back to our board of how we can further encourage them. But that seems to be the biggest issue that we kind of ran into in the past.
I'd like to encourage you to encourage other managers, get to know some of the managers from other of the management companies. I've built relationships with some I've worked with, some I just met through CAI. We've talked about the biggest concern we have is uneducated board members. So we've really been pushing for I'd say the last 4 years, really, really hard on our board training. So we bring this up constantly in our monthly meetings, our monthly luncheons that we have. And now you have managers from different management companies talking about their board members going and how they're coming back. And it's made a huge change in how they view the relationship between the manager and board members and vendors. So now that they're seeing positives on that, our classes are growing constantly with more and more board members wanting to come in and more managers wanting their job easier. And that's your biggest pitch. If you want it to where it makes your job easier as a manager, you need to have an educated board. And the only way to do that, push them to the board training classes.
You know what? That is such a great suggestion. And it's interesting because last night we actually had our spring soiree. It was a beautiful event, very well attended. And, you know, I like to shadow. So I come from a security guard company. So I'm not a property manager or anything like that. But it was interesting to go around the room and mix and mingle and see how the different property managers were starting to get to know each other. So maybe that's an approach that I might want to take back and see if we could build a marketing campaign around that, kind of just to give the property managers a different light of how they can actually add value for their customers and then also make their jobs easier, which is funny because when I sat with some of them yesterday, I'm like, well, what does the life look like of a property manager? And they're like, oh my goodness, depends on the day. There's so many things going on. So it's obvious that they have a lot on their plate, and it just makes sense if their boards are educated and they have more tools to do the daily grind, then they're not really relying on the property manager that much. So it kind of, you know, it becomes an easier task. So I love that suggestion. Thank you so much.
You're
Joanna,
welcome.
where are you from again?
Long Island, New York.
Okay, thank you.
One thing on that too, we have a lot of vendors in our chapter. They invite managers from different management companies out for, just a fun time, either drinks and appetizers or either a dinner. That also brings managers from different management companies together, and then you start talking to them. So I love the way that they work that here, but our business partners are fantastic about that.
Great. I think that for our chapter, that's one of the things that I think that I'd like to implement. And we do plan on having a meeting with the past president, the current president, and myself, the president-elect, because we want to collectively kind of go over and do like a baseline of things that we need to improve on. But I've been on the board for about 2 years now, and marketing is my area of expertise. That is what I do for this company, for Maximum Security. So I kind of put together over the past 2 years a little bit of a marketing plan of things that I think need to be improved, because the biggest thing is finding resources, right? To manage everything. But if you have a marketing resource that happens to be a board member, or if you have an accountant that happens to be a board member, those are all skill sets we can hone in on. And one of the things that I'm noticing is that we kind of need different and differentiated campaigns, whether it's, the homeowner or the property manager or maybe new vendors. So I think that's something I definitely like to focus on with the board for when I, step up into bigger shoes. Because just like in sales, marketing is everything, the same thing with nonprofits and associations. And the more targeted it is, the better the result.
I like what all of you are saying about that's a really great topic about how do you build kind of that culture where managers feel safe, to bring their homeowner leaders and all of that. When I was a chapter executive director, we had a management company who actually wrote it into several of their contracts, that they would cover their membership for CAI, and they wanted them to get involved. And one luncheon, like, I didn't set this up, but it happened beautifully. We had a little time at the end where people were asking questions and sharing, and the two of them, like, it was the management company owner actually and the board member, and they stood up with Common Ground, our magazine, and they were like, this is one of the best resources that we get, because my board president comes to me with articles that she sees in here and is like, have you seen this? And he loved it because, one, it helped her understand their job better, what a manager actually does. It made her understand her role better as a board president, and it was just all around good. So it, like, I couldn't have planned it better, but there was this little infomercial that happened in the middle of our luncheon, and I'm like, I wish I could have videotaped it or whatever. But I love that if you can kind of capture some of those testimonials and try to make that just a normal thing, that this is what we do. So I like
Yeah.
that discussion.
So, yep. So I have another question actually. And I'm so glad that we're doing this, and I apologize if I'm asking too many questions, but I want to make
You're
sure that I
not.
do it next year. So one of the other challenges that I have within the chapter, and look, I understand rules are rules, but we don't really have access to the marketing list, and we can't really send emails out to people, which is a concern. But more importantly, one of the bigger challenges, look, like, our chapter is one of the biggest, right, as far as the ratios are concerned, and we never have a problem getting people in the room. But the issue is that it's always the same communities. And when we're trying to go after new communities, it's kind of hard to figure out how to reach out to them, because either it's a non-working email address, or you call the phone number and you leave 15 voicemails, no one gets back to you. We've kind of toyed around with the idea of snail mail, but still, that's like the worst way that you can do it. So people on this call, if you're currently on a board, or if you have any suggestions, like, how are you approaching marketing for new homeowner members?
I mean, you certainly touched on a lot of the limitations sometimes, and that would, I think it varies based on the locality, because in Ontario and Canada, we have specific rules and regulations on how we can interact via our PIPTA, like our Privacy Act. So I do find exactly what you're saying. Sometimes snail mail may be the only way, but there's limitations with that too.
Yeah, I mean, I was toying with the idea of a little bit of a budget for maybe some Facebook sponsored ads, just because, it's pretty much for brand awareness. I'm not, this isn't a purchasing campaign, it would be a brand awareness campaign.
know
I'm
what?
not sure if anyone on this call has attempted that, because, for example, Facebook marketing, you could target the keyword board member or HOA president. So I was thinking about that, but I'm not sure yet. I would need to do a little bit more marketing research to see if that would be viable.
LinkedIn may
But
be
I think it
very
would
good
be
for you,
effort
Joanna.
well spent.
Like
Oh, LinkedIn also, yes.
yeah, right.
Mhm.
Because you may get more of what the flavor of what you're looking for, right? Like people who are maybe professional in that particular role, and they view themselves
So you guys
as
have all
change
talked,
makers.
oh, sorry.
No, no.
Tanisha, did you still have something to add? And then I can go to Linda after.
No,
We go to
we're
Linda
good.
afterwards. You good? Okay, Linda.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. So you've all talked about classes, and so I have one more question about classes. I don't want to take over the whole thing, but this year we had an annual conference and we presented the CAI Board Leadership Development Training, and it was very well attended. 26 homeowners came. Some of them were not members. A lot of them, if they weren't, they did say they were going to join. I don't know if that's happened. I haven't asked to track that yet. So it occurred to me that RFPs are sent out for the annual conference, the CA Day, for different events that need classes and presentations, but homeowners never get that RFP because it goes to managers and business partners. And I think that's why I, at least, had the impression that all these conferences were about business partners, managers, and not really homeowners. And some of the classes were specific to homeowners, but not very many. So I'm wondering, other organizations I've been a part of, they've had standardized presentations. So I asked our leadership team to consider that. And I'm wondering if any of you have that, like something like leading the team for the president. And it's a standard class that would be given at every conference. And then we would create a leadership team number 2 or something as we go on. But those classes are continual, and they're given, some of them are given by good homeowners, some of them are given by homeowners and managers, just as a standardized way, because homeowners don't get the RFPs. So
I'm sorry, I think I missed the question. What was the question?
if you have any standardized classes that you give at conferences, instead of just asking for RFPs and making your agendas from that or your schedules from that, do you have standard classes that you give?
Isn't that
Maybe
this
I'm not-
volunteer leader program that has just been posted by Emily? That I see that CAA board leader development program has what, 5, 4, I just downloaded everything. We got like 5 PowerPoints or something. And then somebody gets a certificate at the end of that. Isn't that what you're looking to deliver?
Well, we did do that, and because it's such a long class, it took a day and a half, because we wanted to give breaks and everything in between.
Oh, you did all of them at once.
Yeah, so
Okay.
maybe all we have to think about is pulling sections out of that and doing that as a standalone instead of recreating the wheel. I don't know. Emily, I'd
So are
love
you
to know
finding
what you're.
that? So are you
Go ahead.
finding that you're missing topics? Are you finding that it's just too long? Because just like with marketing messages, like the more targeted, the better, because the people get more value out of it. Then maybe do like a survey of, topics that the people are interested in. And in addition to the actual board leadership certificate training, maybe there's additional classes for people that
Right.
have issues with topics that might not be included.
Right, that's what I'm thinking, and so I'm just wondering if anyone does that.
So for the Long Island chapter, we typically try to take the topics that are like that people say they need help with, and we kind of build them into the monthly programs if it's not part of the board leadership training. That way it offers, extra value. But I gotta be honest with you guys, we have a pretty freaking awesome chapter because the presentations, we always get a lot of compliments on them, and that's really great. But that's also a testament to our executive director because she makes sure that it's got to be educational. You can't do a sales pitch. And I think that the discipline and the planning behind that is really, the best approach and probably the critical success factor.
So
Thank you.
most of the conferences and the speakers that I see at conferences and what chapters do is change them up from year to year. So I don't typically see like a series, or anything like that, that you're kind of talking about. I don't see anything wrong with it by any means. I just think the one thing I would say is it's important to keep it fresh and new every year in some way. So you wouldn't want to get in the same, thing every year. You would want to make sure that you change it up a bit.
We typically
point.
target education to managers and directors, like managers and volunteer leaders, because the content is pretty similar. We don't segregate it particularly. Do other chapters do the same, or is it always managers versus volunteer leaders?
This year at the annual conference, we had a management company owner and a homeowner do a class, and that was really cool and well received. We do a lot of partnerships like that with our classes, but
No, I mean the
homeowners aren't
audience,
typically-
Linda. I mean the audience. Like, do you segregate the audience into managers versus directors, or is everybody
Oh,
welcome?
no, everybody.
Is
Our
welcome?
goal is not to pit people against each other, and not that that would actually, I don't know that that would create that effect, but our goal this year is to try to build that partnership so that it doesn't feel like a he against her or whatever it is. So, but thank you all.
Noni, I saw
Um,
that you came off mute. Did you have something you wanted to add as well?
I was just going to say that we have breakfasts that are for homeowner leaders and for managers, but then we have specific webinars that are for homeowner leaders and specific separate webinars for managers that are like more of interest to them.
Yeah, I do see several chapters that I work with going in that direction a little bit. Same thing, offering the classes that are for both, but then, pulling the homeowner leaders out and having something very specific for them. I see that happening a lot with chapters.
Great.
Can I ask a question about digital magazines or newsletters?
Sure.
That'd be all right.
Yeah.
So we're having an issue with readership, where we actually pull the data because it's digital, and very few people are clicking on it. If they're looking at it, it's 2.5 minutes to 5 minutes, so nobody's really reading anything. There's a lot of time that goes into putting those together, and I wondered if anyone else has had that problem, has any ideas of how we could increase our readership. We've also been taking specific articles and putting them on LinkedIn, and so people can click on it and it goes right to that article. But any ideas, I'd appreciate it.
You want to make sure that your digital newsletter is very active, so that if there's an ad in it, you click on it, it gets right to that provider's website, that sort of thing. So then people start to use them as a resource. Like, I know there's an ad from that guy I need, so they'll come through your newsletter is one good thing to do, probably.
And also people like seeing photos of themselves. So we usually interject photos from the events, in between the articles and the ads and everything. But we also typically insert articles in there about topics that we know that are of interest, right? Either based on surveys, or maybe, maybe we did a panel and there were a lot of questions about a certain topic. So then we'll ask one of the vendors to, write an article to kind of summarize it or give a little bit more detail. But it also can't be too long because people don't like to read long things. If you'd like, marketing is my area of expertise. If you'd like, it's hard for me to give advice on that without seeing it. Noni, if you'd like, I can take a look at it and give you some of my feedback. But typically, people like things that are personal. They like to see themselves, topics that are of interest, an interesting image to support the article, and also the word count. And the syntax as well. It has to be easy to read.
Can you send me in chat, just send me your email and I'll send you a copy of it?
Absolutely. I'm putting it in right now.
Noni, one of the things I would say too is we started doing this with Common Ground. Gosh, maybe it's been a year or so. Whenever they send out the notice that Common Ground is available, I'm looking at it right now. Let me see if I can share. I can probably share my screen and show you all really quick. This is kind of what they do, and you may have seen this already. So it has like the digital version, but it also has, they use these kind of icons to show the different things that are in the article. So there's audible articles, embedded videos, and then they highlight, like you're saying you do on LinkedIn, they highlight some of the things in here. So it gives them a really quick view of some of the articles that are in here so that they can click on it, and then it takes them there. This is probably going to make me log in and all that stuff. Oh, look at there. So it takes me directly to the magazine, and then I'm able to click through there. So that might give you, you know, because a lot of people aren't going to look through to find an article they're interested in, but they're going to go here, say, I like that article, find it, and then I'm going to go, oh, okay, that was good. And then maybe I'll click through some more, you know, and click through as well. So I've really liked what we've started doing.
Will you put a
there.
link to this in the chat, please, Emily?
Sure. I don't know. Let's see if it works. Because that's an email that is being sent.
Oh.
Yeah, so you should receive it when our Common Ground comes out.
I don't remember seeing it. Huh.
This last one, I'll give you the date, and I can also like probably save this.
We
as a
received one May, you should have one May 16th, everybody, like lunchtime, May 16th, one came out.
Yeah.
It says community service for the win is the topic or something. Yeah.
Yeah, let me see if I can save this, and then I can drop it in the chat too.
I wonder, is it the method of issuing of the newsletters as well that might be causing them to get caught by spam filters or something, I wonder?
That's a
I
possibility.
do think that's part of the problem. I agree with, we have talked about that, and we do think that is part of the problem.
Yeah.
But I don't know how to get around that.
What platform are you
Yeah,
to create the newsletter?
Pardon me?
What platform are you using to create the newsletter?
You know what? I don't know. The committee does that. I'd have to find out. But I think what's happening is I work for a bank, so I can tell you right now, I don't get anything. And I can't click on anything. Bank will not allow it. And I think there's other attorneys have the same problem. So I think it just depends on who it's being sent to, what kind of filters they have.
I think, Joanne, is it true like I know if you use MailChimp or something like that, I think it gets you past more filters than if you just send a batch email, for example?
Yeah, so that's why I wanted to ask about the platform, because in platforms like MailChimp as well as Constant Contact, number one, they have a way for you to test, like you click the test button and it tells you, you know, where you are, things you need to improve in order for it to get passed. But in general, you know, with the spam laws, like no one should really be sending anything bulk through their email. It should be going through a platform like that. Because otherwise, like in New York, you could get in trouble for that. And in addition to that, if you're sending it based on bulk, the bots catch up to it, and you know your account can be kind of flagged, which is an issue.
Okay. I'll find out the platform. I'll let you know that when I send you a copy.
Sure. You know, one of the things that I'm noticing throughout this call is that a lot of these issues that we're having are kind of marketing oriented, and I know it's in the works, but I really have a wish list for more marketing resources. Like, you know, so for example, I work with the American Kidney Fund, and I've been with them for about 4 years now, but each year, like they give us a whole packet, like here's your social media post. If there's like a special day that's oriented around kidney disease awareness, they'll give you know, special content that you could just plug and play. You could either use their imagery or whatnot. I think that'd be very helpful because if you guys think about it, like it's literally like 3 different market segments. You have the vendors that you want to go after, you have the community members you want to go after, you have the board directors you want to go after, and it's kind of hard to manage all that just like by one person or whatnot, or even if the executive director is doing it, they have so much on their plate. So I think if there was like a playbook with those resources, it would be very helpful.
So, Joanna, one of the resources that we do have, well, 2 things. The one thing is Media Valet, which your chapter staff has access to, which has all of our digital assets and things, you know, there. We also have something that they have access to, or whoever that manages your social media accounts can have access to, that is called Sociable. And it's a platform where you can connect the chapter's social media accounts to it, and you can share posts. We put the content there, and that you can share posts directly from there. So because of the licenses, you know, we aren't able to give access to all of the chapter leaders. Right now, it's the chapter executive director that has access to this. But they can, so they get a digest. Gosh, I think I get this digest weekly, that gives all of the different posts that are available. So I can just go on there, click share, you know, write my own thing on it, you know, and share it directly to my page. Again, the chapters can share
Are
it from
you
their page as
serious
well.
right now?
Yeah, so we have
Are
that
you
available. We also have, you can go in there at any of the posts that we've done and schedule those. So you can schedule them to go out across the platforms at certain times. I know for sure it does Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. I think it does Twitter and yeah, Twitter as well. So
Okay,
Sociable
so
is
then
what it's
let me ask
called.
you, got it. So let me ask you this, because our executive director, she's like a saint. Like we love her. We like she is it, okay? However, in this case, most of the time I'm the one that's helping when I have a free minute because you know, I do have a pretty hefty role with this company for the guarding. I try to help her out with posts just to get messages out. But once again, what I struggle with is finding the content, and I had no clue that the content's right there. So is it
Yes.
possible for an additional resource to be added in addition to the executive director, considering that I'm actually the one that would be posting it, or it's not
So at
possible?
this time, we can take that on a case by case basis. If you and Christine want to reach out to me, and you guys talk about which one of you it makes sense to have access to it, I'm fine with that. We are limited on, again, on the licenses. And at one time we were full. So yeah, if the 2 of you want to talk about it, that's totally fine with me. Just you guys let me know. But I'm glad I could make wishes and dreams come true today. I think it made my day.
Oh, you don't even understand. You just made my life easier. Thank you
Awesome.
so much.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Does anyone else have any burning questions that you guys have come with today, or anything that you've thought of, that you'd like
Yes,
to
I have
share?
another question. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Took
Let
me,
me
took
just,
me.
Joanna, let me just see, is there anyone else that has a question real quick, and then we'll come right back to you. Is there anyone else that has anything they'd like to talk about?
My question was just ideas about how to get people to actually show up in person. We get all the business partners and professionals show up, but the managers and the directors, we can't get them out to the events.
What time of day are you having them?
Mostly they're typically would be lunchtime.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because we found in Minnesota, we had a little symposium with all the management companies, the big ones, that got them together and said, hey, if we hold these events during the day, because we used to hold happy hours from like 4 to 6 and no one ever showed up. So we started holding them from like 1 to 3 and the attendance has been amazing. So maybe adjusting your times, or maybe talking to some of the management companies that we are players and figuring out when they're available to go. You know, sometimes we know there's a couple really big companies in town here where they have their weekly managers meeting on Tuesday mornings. So we try not to schedule events then, so we get more turnout.
In our case, we find that 6 p.m. is the sweet spot.
Do you do a dinner or something at 6 p.m. or is it just a
So
seminar?
so typically our attendees will come in and they mix and mingle, and they grab food. And for us, the food is always the draw because we always get really great food. It also gives the vendor a chance to speak with everybody. And then after about an hour or so, everyone goes in to do the panel discussion. And then they do the panel discussion. That's finished. People stay around, mix and mingle, or they just wind up leaving after the fact. But we find that the food is a critical success factor as well.
And one thing to note about the Long Island chapter, I believe, is they have a lot of homeowner leaders. So that's a sweet spot for those homeowner leaders to attend.
You can't get anywhere in Toronto at 6 p.m.
Uh,
unless you want to live in your car for 2 hours.
We're almost paralyzed by traffic starting at 8 a.m. till about 11 a.m. and there's a sweet spot between 11 to 1.
Yeah, exactly. It's crazy.
And
well, what if you guys
going on strike?
What if you guys did a survey?
Yeah, no, it's a good idea.
I see Kristen, you have your hand up from Washington State.
Yeah, hi, President-elect. I serve under the great Linda Hansen you heard earlier. We were talking about this a little bit as a board, and I'm not sure if other chapters have done this. Receive feedback. I'm on the management side of membership, owner of a management company here. Listening to homeowners and other business partners here about wondering if there's a way to vet vendors, because we're having an issue with a very small minority of vendors getting complaints, and it's making people hesitant to use our member directory, which obviously is problematic because you want to refer people to members of this this industry chapter. So I'm trying to see if anybody's done anything like this before, how that works with national, since business partners need to join through national, and if there's anything we can do about this, because we want to make sure we're upholding the reputation nationally and statewide.
I think you want to be really careful not to vet vendors, because if you vet them, you're given some duty of care. But you could try a code of ethics. In other words, if a vendor has to comply with the code of ethics and then they fail to comply with the code of ethics, then you could remove them as a member.
So we do have a code of ethics, and we can't seem to get the removal part going. So that's what we're stuck on. I don't want to do a super vetting thing either, because everybody's got skeletons in their closet. I think that's going down a rabbit hole. But I think that we're just trying to figure out some kind of remedy for some where we're seeing pretty egregious behavior, and we're trying to protect our homeowners and our associations at the end of the day.
So a couple of things here. I totally hear your concerns on, making sure that if they're a CAI member and you're putting them in their directory, that they're reputable and all of that stuff. Chapters don't have the authority would they have that ethics policy to say that they're going to remove them from membership, because membership comes through us. What I have seen chapters do is put that they're going to recommend that they be removed from membership. And we have done it before. It's very, been very limited. We haven't had to do it a ton of times, but it does go before the board, so if you do have, some situations that you're very concerned about, please do get those to Crystal through Alicia's, your what are we called, Alicia? Liaison, that's the word. Alicia is your liaison, and so you can, work with her on that. So definitely, if you have a case by case, we don't have a vetting process in place, currently. And as far as I know, there aren't plans to do that. There is a law, you have to be careful with doing that. I'm trying to find it. I'm like Googling it right now to try to find it so I can drop it in the chat for you. But you do have to be very careful with that. So we're not at a place that we can do that now, but definitely if there's a huge concern, please do let us know the details. And if it needs to be elevated, we can do that.
Is there an appeal process if the state chapter is hearing that the removals declined and we get another complaint about the same vendor again? Is there any way for any remedy for us, or we have to keep reporting and hope at some point they're going to get removed?
I don't think
we've had an issue where our people aren't getting, there are people we've reported and documented issues too, well before my time, that are still.
Kristen, your directory is just a list of members, isn't it? You don't put any language in there that says that you recommend these people.
No, but if we have people in our chapter and we're trying to increase homeowner engagement, and getting people over to the directory. So if people are at trade shows and people are here with that, I mean, there's FaceTime, we're trying to figure out how to protect our homeowners and also make sure they feel comfortable in the chapter and not going, I just met this really nice guy at this trade show, and now my homeowners association has to pay $500,000 in special assessments because of a botched job and them having deeper pockets, frankly, than most associations to take people to court. So just personal experience here, personal, professional, but this is just something I'm seeing, not too often, but enough where we're talking about it as a board, and it's not just me bringing this up. This is something Linda and a couple other board members have talked about, just trying to see what we can do to help that without being overly invasive or trying to control the market up here, obviously, because that doesn't help anybody. So.
Yeah, so we can definitely talk offline. I don't know. I know that we don't have a process. So I know that there's no appeals process, you know, with that as far. I mean, sure, there is a process. I'll take that back. But I don't think that there's like a formal appeals process and stuff like that. So we can definitely talk offline about that. And I would offer up Crystal even to attend one of your board meetings and, you know, talk with you through that as well. Alicia can drop her a note too, that, you know, that you guys may reach out for that. So, but I don't have all the details to talk, you know, in great detail about it.
I'm newish to this, so I just want to know if there was anybody else that had experience or what the process was. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. I have also had chapters again on a limited basis when the code of ethics is broken or, you know, something like that. They have something in there. And this really is like if something happens at an event or something, you know, that they can limit them from attending events. And we always say, if you're going to do that, set a certain time frame. So I've had a chapter who said, we will reevaluate this in a year. But, you know, for a year, you are not allowed to attend our events. So I have known chapters who have done that.
Thanks again.
Absolutely.
I just have a quick question. I just wanted to see if anyone was experiencing or had any comments on this. I've noticed a trend where more and more management companies are holding their own trade shows and then putting it out there for business partners to attend their trade shows at a certain cost. And it provides them to set up at these trade shows and have one-on-one time with their property managers. And I've just seen more of that happening. And some of these costs are pretty substantial. And I was wondering if you guys in any other areas have seen that and what impacts, if any, does it correlate to chapter operations?
We certainly, in Toronto, we certainly have that on a big way. A lot of the management firms run full out conferences for their directors to come to and their managers to come to. And they bring in speakers and booths and everything, the whole 9 yards. And then even the legal firms, a lot of the legal firms offer up courses, you know, webinars very routinely. So there's a ton of competition on the education front, which is good in a way. There's more education for everybody, but from the association perspective, it makes it a big challenge. Especially since they launched we have licensed condo management in the province. And so now there's mandatory continuing professional education too. So that spawned a huge number of competitors to the associations.
Mm-hmm. And we've always had attorneys firms here provide, you know, continuing education classes to managers, but I just saw just more and more where they're just open it to all the business partners that, you know, attorneys, roofers, painters, everyone. And you just basically attend their specific trade show, and it's really one-on-one time with all of their managers that are required to attend this event versus our CAI functions where we're trying to get as many managers out there as possible to make our business partners happy. So I just didn't know, you know, what you guys were seeing out there as well about that.
It's happening everywhere. between the management companies doing it, the attorneys doing it, the individual groups doing it. I can tell you in South Florida, there's probably, if I were 10 people, I couldn't attend every event that's out there.
I know the chapter here where I am locally, a management company was hosting something like that, and they asked the chapter to sponsor. And so that was a discussion going back and forth. I'm actually not sure what they decided, but you know, they were deciding whether it was a good use of dollars, you know, to support, you know. So I don't have an answer for you, but I do know, you know, that that's questions coming up too about what role should the chapter have in those.
In that case, I would offer to deliver a couple of education sessions at it. So in other words, have the association, the CAI folks deliver a couple of education sessions at that conference in exchange for the sponsorship and be able to promote the association at them.
Yeah, but Sally, they're charging a vendor to present those education events.
They charge them.
And
Oh,
making
see,
money.
ours they charge to sponsor or exhibit.
Oh, no, they're charging for both.
Yeah.
So, you know, X to display and X plus to do it. But to Emily's point, having those same conversations down here about how do we share in what these private organizations are doing. I'm pushing for us to kind of collaborate with them and just be a voice in the room, whether we're presenting or not, because they're obviously hitting audiences we're not. So I think there's some collaboration there that we can do. And that was to go back to the original, what was your take home from Vegas? That was my take home at that table, was people are doing it successfully. So that's something we're actively talking about now in our chapter, and putting together some kind of a, you know, simple agreement of what we're committing to and what we're asking them to commit to.
Yeah, they have a kind of unfair advantage, don't they? Because they get their volunteer leaders in for free, probably their managers in for free, and they have the mailing list, right? Versus the associations, we can't, so you can't compete with that. Yeah. Interesting.
All right. Well, this has been a great discussion. We are nearing 3:30, and I want to make sure you all are able to stick to the time that we had allotted for this. So just a few things. I do want to encourage this conversation any conversations to continue on through the exchange. We do have our groups, our president-elect groups on there, so you have access to that. And also one other, I guess, announcement. Our next meeting was scheduled for the 4th of July. We're going to change that. So just be on the lookout for the updated calendar invite, just to put that on your radar if you're like me and start looking at stuff a month ahead. We realized that not too long ago. So don't want to impede on your holiday plans for that. So we'll be sending that out momentarily. And as also this session will be recorded. Once we get recorded and edited, we'll upload it and you'll be able to view it. So if anyone is you're aware if they had to jump off or weren't able to make it, we do tend to put these on our chapter leadership YouTube page. So,
I have to say, Alicia and Emily, I really love these times to chat with other people in real voice. So I appreciate the work that you put in to make this happen, and all the people who attended. It's very well attended today.
It is. Yeah, thank you. For me, it's great to be able to, I feel like I'm actually more connected to you all, at least the ones in my territory, because, you know, I don't get to see everybody every month or anything. So it's nice to kind of hear and you all talk so much yourselves. So we continue to encourage, and as long as this is a resource and a benefit for you all, we want to make sure that we're continuing these discussions and give you the opportunities to connect with each other across the country and everything. So now that we are at 3:30, I just want to thank you all for attending, and hopefully I'll see you at the next one once we get that calendar invite out.
Thank you.
Bye,
Bye,
thank you. Have a good rest of your day.
Bye, everybody.
Yeah. Bye.